Let's give a huge round of applause to all of our Kirtaniyas, Pujaris and singers. Hari Bol. Before I start today's program, just a question for only Prabhujis. What is the special day today? Any day today?
Women's Day.
Yes, correct. Women's Day. So as Women's Day, in honor of Women's Day, we have to clean the dishes and we have to serve the prasad. Hari Bol. Anyone first time here in this center? Anyone first time? Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Before we start the program, I will start with Srila Prabhupada's quote. To serve the servant of Krishna is better than to serve directly Krishna. Because if the servant of Krishna promises something, and if the servant of Krishna says, I will take you to Krishna Loka, you must go there. Hari Bol. We will also be celebrating Ram Navami. Last week we had Gaur Purnima celebrated in Port Credit Arena on Tuesday. We will also be celebrating Ram Navami on Thursday, March 26th at Meadowvale Community Center in the Youth Senior Room starting from 6 p.m. onwards. Also on April 11th from 10 a.m. to noon, His Grace Rajasurya Prabhu will be taking Vaishnav etiquette class for the devotees at the same Vic Johnson Community Center in the meeting room. Whoever is interested, please submit the registration form. Dharma Prabhu posted in the WhatsApp group. Please submit that as soon as possible. Thank you. This way, Vedic discourse will be given by His Holiness Bhaktimarga Swami Maharaj. His Holiness Bhaktimarga Swami Maharaj, born in Chatham, Ontario, and is also known as the walking monk for having trekked 4 times across Canada. Hari Bol. Keeping with the spirit of pilgrimage, he also crossed the USA, Israel, Ireland, Mauritius, and the Fiji Islands. As a youth, Maharaj was a student of fine arts, but took to the life of a Hare Krishna monk at the age of 20 in 1973. Although pursuing monastic ways, he maintains artistic expression through several mediums. As a playwright, he produces and directs productions based on themes from the Vedic epics of India. Wherever he travels, he emerged talented local youth as the production actors, dancers, choreographers, and technical crews. We might have seen a couple of dramas also happened here. One happened during the Bhaktimarga Swami Maharaj Vyas Puja on October, right? And the one we saw in Mississauga Festival of Joy. Those were very good, Maharaj. Okay, wherever he travels, he emerges talented local youth as actor, talented crews. Maharaj is also an instructor of Bhakti Yoga, a leader of Kirtan, and a speaker on the science of self based on the ancient teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Let's give a huge round of applause to Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Jai, we'll just chant Jai Radha Madhava. How long do I go till for this? How long is this? 6:20. Okay.
Shall I take reminder? 6:50. Shall I?
Sure. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna. Jai. Let's do a little japa, shall we? 3 minutes. Hare Krishna. If you have beads, that's great. If you don't, that's also great. Just chant with us. Hare Krishna. The Mahamantra, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. So do that. You can close your eyes if you like. Sit with your back, neck, and head erect in a straight line. We'll constantly focus on this sound vibration, which we'll do in unison, okay? We've got 3 minutes to do this together. 1, 2, 3, go. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much for joining us on Japa meditation, meant for our purification. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai. Hare Krishna. Okay, I want to share with you the short poem that I wrote. I finished in the parking lot here. Hare Krishna. Okay, this actually happened a couple of days ago. I was walking from the Midtown Toronto Temple, 243 Avenue Road, and I walked to Union Station, and this was my experience, okay? Written in poetical form. And the title is, Are You a Monk? Are you a monk? A pedestrian asked. Yes, I am. I'm not masked. For half a century, I've been that, and walking has been my format. Two young women also asked the same. shocked as if I'm of the Hallmark fame. We're the last of a rare species going extinct. Stunned, their mouths opened, eyes hadn't blinked. I walked Michigan in the USA, met a native. I had this to say: "You're the first native I've seen on this trip." Response: "Only monk I've seen was on the screen." Common questions: monk? Buddhist? I'm certainly not a nudist. I've got my Swami robes as clothes, the monastic garb for humble bros. When folks ask, "Are you a monk?" I could say, "Definitely not a punk." I like to play on their curiosity, then proceed to talk of religiosity. It's the most common query on the road, at any of the trails I've strode. To make it thought-provoking more clear, I'm a warrior who bears his spear, analogous to something we call weapon. That spear is actually a form of wisdom. I'm a monk who walks to learn and shares what's learned and fan like a fern. I believe we all identify as a monk, one who travels light, omitting much junk. The last phase of life is this cultivation, before we move forward to our reincarnation. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay, I understand we're looking at the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and we're on chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. And the chapters, that's the title. We're looking at verse 3, 13, 14, 15, and 16. 4 verses. Do you do the Sanskrit, Sarva?
Yes.
You do? We do it together?
Yeah.
Okay, on your mark, get set, Govinda. Sarva karmani manasa. Sanyasyaste sukham vishi. Navadvari puri dehi. Naiva kurvanda karyana. Do you do we read this and the purports, the verses and the purports together, or do I read what? Okay. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. And here we go for the purport. The embodied soul lives in the city of 9 gates. The activities of the body, or the figurative city of the body, are conducted automatically by its particular modes of nature. The soul, although subjecting himself to the conditions of the body, can be beyond those conditions if he so desires. Oh my God, how can I read? Owing only to forgetfulness of his superior nature, he identifies with the material body and therefore suffers. By Krishna consciousness, he can revive his real position and thus come out of his embodiment. Therefore, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, one at once becomes completely aloof from bodily activities. In such a controlled life, in which his deliberations are changed, he lives happily within the city of 9 gates. The 9 gates are mentioned as follows: Navadore Pure Dehi, Hangso Lalayate Vahi, Vashi Sarvasya Lokasya, Stavarasya Charasya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is living within the body of a living entity, is the controller of all living entities all over the universe. The body consists of 9 gates: 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 1 mouth, the anus, and the genitals. The living entity in his conditioned stage identifies himself with the body, but when he identifies himself with the Lord within himself, he becomes just as free as the Lord, even while in the body. And that's a quote from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3:18. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is free from both the outer and inner activities of the material body. Hare Krishna. Is it good? Do we read more? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Nakartatvam nakarmani lokasya srijati prabhu nakarma pala sangyogam sabhavastu pravartate. We can read this verse together, okay? The embodied spirit, master of the city. Can we read it together? 1, 2, 3. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. And in the purport, it says, the living entity, as will be explained in the 7th chapter, is one of the energies or natures of the Supreme Lord, but is distinct from matter, which is another nature called inferior of the Lord. Somehow the superior nature, the living entity, has been in contact with material nature since time immemorial. The temporary body or material dwelling place which he obtains is the cause of varieties of activities and their resultant reactions. Living in such a conditioned atmosphere, conditional, one suffers the results of the activities of the body by identifying himself in ignorance with the body. It is ignorance acquired from time immemorial that is the cause of bodily suffering and distress. As soon as the living entity becomes aloof from the activities of the body, it becomes free from the reactions as well. As long as he is in the city of the body, he appears to be the master of it. But actually, he is neither its proprietor nor controller of its actions and reactions. He is simply in the midst of the material ocean, struggling for existence. The waves of the ocean are tossing him, and he has no control over them. His best solution is to get out of the water by transcendental Krishna consciousness. That alone will save him from all turmoil. Okay? So then the next verse together, right? Nadate kasachit papam Vachaiva sukritan vibhu Agyani avritam jnanam Tena muyanti jantabah. We'll read this together. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. Purport. So we're reading this whole thing, right? Is that right? Yeah, okay. The Sanskrit word vibhu means the Supreme Lord, who is full of unlimited knowledge, riches, strength, fame, beauty, and renunciation. He is always satisfied in himself, undisturbed by sinful or pious activities. He does not create a particular situation for any living entity, but the living entity, bewildered by ignorance, desires to be put into certain conditions of life, and thereby his chain of action and reaction begins. A living entity is, by superior nature, full of knowledge. Nevertheless, he is prone to be influenced by ignorance due to his limited power. The Lord is omnipotent, but the living entity is not. The Lord is vibhu, or omniscient, but the living entity is anu, or atomic. Because he is a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omnipotent Lord. And so, when the living entity is bewildered in his desires, the Lord allows him to fulfill those desires. But the Lord is never responsible for the actions and reactions of the particular situation, which may be desired. Being in a bewildered condition, therefore, the embodied soul identifies himself with the circumstantial material body and becomes subjected to the temporary misery and happiness of life. The Lord is the constant companion of the living entity as Paramatma, or the Supersoul, and therefore he can understand the desires of the individual soul as one can smell the fragrance of a flower by being near it. Desire is a subtle form of conditioning for the living entity. The Lord fulfills his desire as he deserves. Man proposes, and of course it's Woman's Day, so woman proposes and God disposes. The individual is not, therefore, omnipotent in fulfilling his desires. The Lord, however, can fulfill all desires, and the Lord, being neutral to everyone, does not interfere with the desires of the minute, independent living entities. However, when one desires Krishna, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can attain to him and be eternally happy. The Vedic hymns therefore declare, Esha yeva sadhu karma karyati tang yan ebyo loke priya unni sate eshatu eva sadhu karma karyati yang adho ninishate. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so that he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in impious activities so that he may go to hell. Hare Krishna. That's not something to glorify. That's why I don't say Hare Krishna. But Kaushi Taki Upanishad 3:8. Similarly, the Mahabharata, Vanaparva, verse 31 to 20, verse 27 actually states, Agyo Jantur Anisho Yang Atmana Sukha Dukkha Yoho Ishvara Pritita Akachet Swargam Vash Abbrahman Evacha. The living entity is completely dependent in his distress and happiness. By the will of the Supreme, he can go to heaven or hell as a cloud is driven by the air. Therefore, the embodied soul, by his immoral desire to avoid Krishna consciousness, causes his own bewilderment. Consequently, although he is constitutionally eternal, blissful, and cognizant, due to the littleness of his existence, he forgets his constitutional position of service to the Lord, and is thus entrapped by nescience. And under the spell of ignorance, the living entity claims that the Lord is responsible for his conditional existence. The Vedanta Sutras, that's a quote, also confirm this. Vaishamya Nyayagrinye na sapekshatvat tatahi darshayati. The Lord neither hates nor likes anyone, though he appears to. Okay, and the last verse, right? Is that right?
Yes.
One more? Woo! My God. Marathon here. Jnanena tutad agyanam yeshanashidam atmanah shesham aditya vajnanam prakashiyat taparam. Translation together. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. And purport, Hare Krishna. Here we go. Those who have forgotten Krishna must certainly be bewildered, but those who are in Krishna consciousness are not bewildered at all. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvam Jnanam Plavina. Gyanatni sarva karmani and na hi jnanina sadrisham. Knowledge is always highly esteemed. And what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders unto Krishna, as is said in the 7th chapter, 19th verse. Bahunam janmanamanti gyatavamam prapadyate. After passing through many, many births, when one perfect in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna, or when one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him as everything is revealed by the sun in the daytime. The living entity is bewildered in so many ways. For instance, when he unceremoniously thinks himself God, he actually falls into the last snare of nescience. If a living entity were God, then how could he become bewildered by nescience? Does God become bewildered by nescience? If so, then nescience or Satan would be greater than God. Real knowledge can be obtained from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one has to seek out such a bona fide spiritual master and under him learn what Krishna consciousness is. For Krishna consciousness will certainly drive away all nescience, as the sun drives away darkness. Even though a person may be in full knowledge that he is not this body, but is transcendental to the body, he still may not be able to discriminate between the soul and the supersoul. However, he can know everything well if he cares to take shelter of the perfect bona fide Krishna conscious spiritual master. One can know God and one's relationship with God only when one actually meets a representative of God. A representative of God never claims that he is God, although he is paid all the respect ordinarily paid to God because he has knowledge of God. One has to learn the distinction between God and the living entity. Lord Shri Krishna therefore stated in the 2nd chapter, 2:12, that every living being is individual, and that the Lord also is individual. They were all individuals in the past, they are individuals at present, and they will continue to be individuals in the future, even after liberation. At night, we see everything as one in the darkness, but in the daytime, when the sun is up, we see everything in its real identity with individuality and spiritual life is real knowledge. Okay, Haribol. Namo Namaste Suspastai Vidari Srimati Bhakti Namadi Namaste Saraswati Shri Shinibati Pastatiri Satarini. Okay, great. Do we have any gods here? Anybody claim to be God? Put up your hand. Okay, well that's good. All right. So there's a lot of juice here. There's a lot of jam-packed information here in this segment of Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So yoga means to unite with God. Karma means through your actions. Okay. So what we like to do is make sure our actions are pleasing to the Lord. And if they're not pleasing, then as stated earlier, then you go to hell. And I was on my 3rd walk across Canada. I had with me Guru Vahan, and unfortunately he passed away just a few weeks ago. He was my support guy, and we had his car. And it wasn't the newest car, but it broke down, and we had to go to garage. And the garage was run, the repair place, was run by one gentleman, and he was a very strong Christian. So he looked at us, we're dressed like devotees, and we were waiting to get the vehicle repaired. And he looked at us and he judged us. And because we're not dressed like Christians, he said, so, he leans over the bar like this. So, I guess you guys are going to where it's hot. You know, meaning that was our destination. We're going to hell where the flames are very high. And there was a lady who happened to be walking in at that time, like a customer, a client, and she heard him say that. Say, "Oh, you stop that." She hit him on the shoulder, kind of like joking. "Oh, you stop that." You know, don't be biased. Don't discriminate. Don't be judgmental. Yeah. But by the way, we can judge if someone is a little bit out of line. I mean, if someone says they're God, they're out of line. Have you ever met anybody who thinks they're God? I have. I've met someone who says he was God, and then I asked him a second question. Said, "So where are you from?" God. And I asked him, "Where are you from?" And he says, "From everywhere." I don't know if he was on some kind of drugs or something like that. But it is possible to go off track. So stay on track. How do you stay on track? It's recommended here. Tadvidi pranipatina pariparashnena sevaya upadikshati te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. That means that you approach a master, somebody who's Krishna conscious. Now, there are two ways to be in this world. I can put that to one way is, we put it on our reels the other day. Maybe you saw it again. There's two ways to be in this life. One is be upbeat. Be very upbeat. Prabhupada was always very upbeat. Be upbeat or beat up. There's only two ways to be. And it's your choice. Okay? And there's also something, either you're God or you're not God. I'm going to draw another, let's say, reflection to you on this matter. We're all souls, but we're only one of two different kinds of souls. One is conditional or conditioned soul, influenced by the Triguna, three energies. That means you're conditioned, you follow a pattern, and you're really quite free from being free. The other form of soul is constitutional soul. Now that sounds kind of formal. It sounds like you have to sign some papers. How many people like to, sign formal papers or fill out a form? Here's your form, and it's like 6 pages to fill out, blanks. How many people like to fill out forms and applications? Anybody like to do that? Dharma likes it. I know he does it for me. Okay. So constitutional. That simply means that you're living within your natural limits. You're following your constitution. And what is your constitution? I'm a part and parcel of God. I'm not God. I'm the servant of God, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu puts it. Chaitanya, he says like this: Gopi Bharatura Patakamaliyora Dasa Dasa Das Anudas. What that means that, he preempts it by saying, I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Shudra. I'm not a Brahmachari, I'm not a Grihastha, I'm not a Vanaprasthi or Sannyasi. Gopi Bharatu Patakamaliyora Dasa Dasa Anudasa. I am the servant or an assistant to the assistant of the Lord, of the master of the gopis. That's our constitutional position. I'm a servant. I'm not a slave. Servant, even for some people, servant is harsh. If you say you're a servant, did you know that you're a servant? Oh, that's very, don't give me that. So, okay, assistant, does that sound better? Okay, assistant. Okay. We are assistants to God. And sometimes when people are encouraged to be an assistant, they're a little resistant. See, we're doing another poem here. People are resistant to serving the Supreme Lord. It's like an allergy. I have an allergy towards God, you know. They do all forms of sense gratification. When you ask them, can you serve God? Can you be his assistant? Just a little bit picky, don't do a little seva, you know. I said, I've got allergies towards religion or allergies towards God. You know, it's like hay fever for me. Now, when you analyze the world situation, when you look at what some of the great religions have done in the world, you have to question, a lot of trouble has been started by people who are off course. Off course, not on the track of God, but on their own track, the track of sense gratification. Let's also analyze some other really nice words that are in Sanskrit. Anu, did you pick up on that? Anu refers to a small living entity. Again, pequito, tiny, we're just very small. 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair. And that's pretty small, very tiny. So we're Anu. And when it comes to the word Vibhu, Vibhu refers to God who's without limit, just big. The sky is the limit. We hear that phrase sometimes. Somebody asked me the other day, when I was in India just recently, he asked me, how do I do? I feel dirty sometimes. I just feel like I'm not worthy, I'm not clean. And I could have given him the answer, just keep chanting Hare Krishna and everything will be okay. But that's not always a good pad answer. It doesn't always work. Yes, chanting is powerful to help you, but I gave him some practical examples, The one was, if you're feeling very dirty about something, or and you want to just get clean, take a minute, open the window, look at the big blue sky, and just look at it for a few seconds, stare at it, and then when you come back, close the window, and you usually feel a little bit better. Sometimes when you feel dirty, you should jump in the Ganga. That's what the Shastra says, that's recommended. But where's the Ganga? I know we've got the Credit River. I think it's probably cleaner than the Ganga. Honestly, it's cleaner than the Ganga. Okay, so water works, the sun works, the sky works, or even looking at a great devotee of the Lord also helps. One definition of a devotee or a Vaishnava, I'll tell you it's like this. Anyone that you see who enthuses you in devotional service, that person is a devotee. There's different definitions to what is Vaishnava. How many people identify with Vaishnavism? How many people identify with the term Hindu? I'm a Hindu. Some people are going like this. Okay. But actually, Hindu is a word that we borrowed, and that the Islamic community called us Hindu. We don't have to buy into that, honestly. We are actually Vaishnava. That means we follow Vishnu /Krishna. That's our traditional name. We are Vaishnavas. Some people want to say Sanatana Dharmis. That's okay. That's fine. We follow Sanatana Dharma. That means the eternal righteousness. And that's okay. That's a good word. I hope we can do that in this lifetime. Hey, if some of us are not around for it to happen while we're changing names, maybe India will be called Bharat one time. Or Prabhu, how about you? Do you think that one day we could be called Sanatana Dharmis? Do you think it's possible? I'm depending on your generation, you know that, right? What do you think?
I think Hindu is a better term than Sanatana Dharma.
You what?
I think being called Hindu is a bit better than Sanatana Dharma. Although being called a Sanatana Dharma is more accurate right now, I still think it will take some time for people to fully accept it.
Do you think at that time you're talking what could have happened in this life, like in your life?
I don't know.
Great. Will you run for prime ministership? Okay. After Modi, keep changing the names, bring it back. Okay, so anyways, our talk is about getting the true identity. I'm not this body, I'm a spirit. Aham Brahmasmi. Everybody's heard that term before. Aham Brahmasmi. That sticks. And it speaks for eternity. Okay, now you're Indian Canadian, most of you, right? Well, am I missing somebody? I think everyone except for me. I've got Dutch blood in me. Everyone else is Indian, Canadian, right? That's right. Okay. But in the next life, you might not be Canadian, you might not be Indian. You might be a swan. You could be in some other life form based on what you're doing right now. I think that we should look clearly at what is our true identity and then act accordingly once you know who you are, once you know what you are and who you are. What is that twinkle, twinkle, little star? How I wonder what you are. Well, you're a star. All right. So I know that in India everybody likes these English nursery rhymes, and I write about it. Tick tock, ticker tock, or the mouse ran up the clock, or whatever. Right? All those kind of, isn't it? Yeah, you like them. Okay. Hey, if we could recite shlokas from Bhagavad Gita like we do those nursery rhymes, we'd be doing really good, because we'd be repeating the words of God. And you can't go wrong with that. But better than just repeating the words of God is to acting out the words of God. Not that you are God, but to act godly. You're godly in your mannerisms and your practices. That's where we want to be. We want to be godly. We don't want to be divine. Chapter 16, you've got the books in front of you. Let's look at chapter 16. Let's see what it says. You've got a choice. And the choice is this. You can go to verse 1, 2, 3. There's 26 qualities attributed to a divine person. And why don't we just, from 1 to 3, let's read that together, shall we? This is what is expected of us. What we want to cultivate is these qualities that we're going to read right now. 1, 2, 3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy, and with the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O Son of God, belong to godly men endowed with a divine nature. Hare Krishna. Pretty good qualities, aren't they? Like all of them. All 26. Can anybody guess how many qualities are attributed to demonic forces? How many? 6. That's right. Let's look at them. Text number 4. And we'll go to the English. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demonic nature. O son of Prita. Okay. So anyways, let's define who we really are by our actions, by what we embrace. I think it's really important for us to make those decisions in life. Here we are. Haribo. 2 brahmacharis. Hey. 2 monks have arrived. Haribo. They're just wonderful, both of them. And, So we have just, everything's about choice. Krishna gives us a free will. He's not hiding that fact. If we were forced to be, a Vaishnava, forced, then this would not be a demonstration of love. It has to be based on free will, right? Because love is about that. Love is spontaneous. It's natural. It's organic. It's not by brute force or brute strength that, or having a gun to your head, that I become a devotee of God. And it has to be very natural and bring about a certain kind of happiness. Susukam kartum avyayam, chapter 9 from Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's talking about the execution of bhakti, devotion, is happily executed. Just like we are dancing, and the men were dancing here, the ladies were dancing here. They're dancing very different from each other, but I'm okay with that. I mean, everyone wants to get their own identity out there. I'm a man, I'm a woman, okay? All right, and that's okay. It's all for Krishna. That's what's important. It's joyfully executed. And, over the decades since the Hare Krishna movement began, people have known us to be happy people. Oh, I like those Krishnas. I remember chanting in Sydney, Nova Scotia with Mr. Maindirata, my good friend, a Punjabi man who was a teacher at the school, and he and his wife and a few of us were chanting. It was a sunny day, and one lady came out of her shop and said, "Oh, you're making us feel so happy." Okay, so that's the idea. We want to be contagious with this. We want to share joy, share happiness. We always want to put on a festival of joy, right? Happiness. Everyone's looking for it. Everyone's looking for Ananda, but they don't know where to find it. They try to channel it through the physical body. This Navadvare Pure Dehi, the city of 9 gates. And it gets really disappointing. I'm not getting any juice. Just like you go to the grocery store, and most of the stuff in the grocery store is very gross. But there's some sections where you get fruit, and it looks so colorful, it just attracts your eyes to it, And the apples are shining, right? Because they got wax on them or something like that, And you buy those big apples sometimes, and you think, wow, I hit the jackpot. Big, fat, juicy apples. And then you bite into one of them, and because they weren't ripe, weren't not matured organically, you bite, okay, there's some stuff that, what shall I say, there's a fresh experience there. But the flavor is missing. Oh, let me try again. It's just like a teaser. Let me sink my teeth into another section of the apple. Maybe I'll get more juice out of it. And you go, and it's just really lacking flavor. Have you ever had those kind of apples before, or fruit? Yes? Okay. Don't put your hand up, because I want you to be honest with yourself. Okay? Yeah, but I mean, this is the way it is. And so it says, I'm going to get there. I'll get the pleasure I want out of this apple. I want to get my nutrition and flavor. And you're down to the core. You know how an apple is like this, and you've eaten through it. It takes that kind of shape, And you've taken every last little bit. The senses are totally teased. Wait a minute, there's a little bit at the top near the core. Surely I'll get some. And it's one big fat disappointment. So that's what sense gratification is all about. That's the trick of Maya. That's the trick of Satan. And we get fooled all the time. Every time it comes around. You go shopping, the grocery store next week. Same fool. Who's the fool? I'm the fool. I'm the idiot. I don't get it. Okay, if we can simply be convinced that the path of Pravritti Marg means path, Pravriti means sense gratification. It just doesn't cut it. It doesn't do it for us. Okay? It really doesn't. It doesn't make you fulfilled. So when will we be convinced of this? And when we will change our ways, our mannerisms? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. A bunch of questions, a stock of them, a ton of questions. We're hoping that we'll get some answers, okay? So some of us are still in the position where we're trying to find ourselves. Have you ever heard that phrase before? Find yourself. And once you've been found, great. When we take shelter of Krishna and enjoy the joy that comes from serving Him, then you can say, this is it. I don't need to look anymore. My search is done. Hare Krishna. So I want to thank you for joining us and going over the 4 verses from today from chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. I'm trying to be loyal to your time frame, and if I got it, we're spot on here. I like to do it like that. Do you have time for questions?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, all right. Questions or comments? Yes. Prabhu, yes.
So in the purport we are
Hare Krishna. In the purport, we saw a word called nascence. Could you elaborate on this word?
Which word?
Nascence.
Oh, nescience.
Yes.
Nescience is the opposite to science. Nescience. Okay, and or in Sanskrit we have the word avidya, ignorance. It stems from living the lie, I am this body, when actually I'm not. When I walked across Canada the first time, I was in Sudbury, the place where I first met devotees, and the local newspaper rep came by, and I got on the front page. I'm always happy if we get on the front page and Krishna gets noted there, and says, we're living the big lie. Okay, I told them the big lie was in the caption. And what is the big lie? The big lie is that I am this body. We've been told that from the beginning. I am the body. So that's where nescience begins, you know. And when you get actually truly scientific, like with Krishna, and there's a case for science and religion as a synthesis of the two, then you can actually make some sense out of this life. And you can get out of your nescience. And nescience means when you don't know who you are and what you're supposed to do with yourself. Okay. So let's turn on the switch and let's actually have a grip on our true identity. And then we can be successful in this life. Is that okay, bro? Nescience. You know? It's sometimes the word can apply to modern day science. And you know, a real enlightened person is not somebody who's going to change the story all the time. Maybe, perhaps, 90 million years ago, they got all these speculations going on. That's how they open up their, let's say, unpack their, what do you call it, their information. So, just like yesterday, one guy came to me, you know, I'm a little confused, I'm not sure if it's Krishna I should follow, or Shiva, or this God or that God. And he said, well, tell me, what is the most important book of truth to you? The script, which is it, if there's one? Like you can nail down, peg one down. And he said, well, Bhagavad Gita. Okay, well, Bhagavad Gita, well, what does the Bhagavad Gita say? It explains who is God, who's the Deva, Deva Jagatpate, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. Chapter 10 from Bhagavad Gita is very clear who is God. So, Krishna's God. Just accept it. It's okay. You can end your search. No, do we lost anymore? I mean, that is the ultimate book, isn't it? Those of us who come from the land of Bharat or have some tie-ins there, it's the most important book, isn't it? I stand to be corrected. Does anybody read Alice in Wonderland or the famous nursery rhymes? No, that is the main book for all of us. That's the one we take most seriously. And there we will find the information on what is my true identity. Once I know who I am, then I have a good idea. I should get a good grip on what I should do with myself. Like for a young person says, I'm a business student. So then you do your business. If somebody says, I don't care for the corporate world. I'm more like a farmer. I want to be outdoors and I want to just do, good physical stuff. Okay, great, get to it, but get your identity right. Ultimately, we're not farmers, we're not business people. Ultimately, we expressed it earlier on. Gopi, Bharatur, Kamala, Kamala, Dasa, Dasa, and Dasa. Okay, is that okay? Anybody else? Okay, let's hear it for the question. Anybody else? Yeah, everyone had their hand up, so. All kinds of questions. Abhinav, do you have a question? Can you conjure one up?
I have a reflection, Maharaj.
Okay, we like to hear about reflections.
In the second verse that you were discussing, or the first verse, it said that as long as we're in the material body, we tend to think that we're the controllers. And I was realizing that there's very little about my body that I can actually control. Like I can't control how often my heart beats or how my lungs are functioning. They just sort of work. And there's very little that I can actually control. Even in this, I have very minute control, and the verse reminded me of that.
Yeah, thank you. That's brilliant. Yeah, the other day I was at the Mumbai airport. I thought, okay, great, we're nice and early. Everything's just fine and dandy. The weather's good, and Chai Ho, I'm going to be celebrating Gaur Purnima on the plane. I had no choice, Everything's just great, and then you get there and you put your boarding pass on that screen, and there's all flights canceled. So, I thought I was in control. I had all planned out what was going to be my destiny for the next day and a half or so. But it just got, I got bewildered. So really, okay, this is the nature of the material world. And I was in the front of the airport with thousands of other people. They don't know what to do. You lost your flight, your ticket. You have to buy a new ticket. You have to go to other airlines. Couldn't even get in the building. So you think you're in charge. You think you're in control, when in fact you're not. Hence, the conclusion is, the Siddhanta is, I am not God. I told you this before, right? There was one minister of Christianity. He said, I've been with the ministry for 40 years. And I've come to realize two things. Number one, there is a God. And number two, it's not me. Okay, anything else? Ashish, do you have anything? He does. I knew he would.
Sorry we joined a little late, so I couldn't hear most of it. But I was just reflecting on how relatable it is to hear these little anecdotes from your trips when you are giving these classes. Because even during Gaur Purnima, I also had certain plans to celebrate in a certain way, but because of some health issue I couldn't, and that's what made me realize that I'm very little the controller. So thank you for always sharing these anecdotes to make it relatable for us.
Not to get too personal, but some back issues. Okay. Well, what we're all trying to do is to go back home, back to Godhead. But you're finding it a little difficult with you because of your back. Okay, you can't do any back flips these days. Front flips. Sartak, do you have any questions?
Maharaj, you were speaking about Bhaktimarga, and there is also Nivrittimarga. Would you like to talk about Nivrittimarga too?
Nivrittimarga is an advanced state or path to take. It's the path of less sense gratification. It's more about detachment, which means attachment to Krishna. So, Pravritti means the path of karma kanda, honoring different demigods, asking for favors from them. I'm such a nice person. Can you help me with this and that kind of thing? All the gods are there for that. I was listening to a lecture tape. Prabhupada said, worshiping goddess Uma, so I can have a nice wife. So this is all to do with the path of sense enjoyment, but it's discouraged to those who want to really cultivate. They're into the real deal of spirituality. So the path of Nivrittimarga is favorable, and it's where you become detached from the world, but attached to Krishna. Okay, to put it in simple terms. Anybody else? Oh yes, Haribol. It's Women's Day. We have to have a woman.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful lecture. I just want to thank you for the poem which you shared with us in the beginning of the class. So it did give insights about how when people see you and they think who monk is, the way you expressed the poem, I felt sometimes like my takeaway was that things do happen normally, and the way you expressed in when they asked, are you Buddhist or what? So those things I thought, which is normal. We do have certain doubts, but then the way you continued the poem and the way it synchronized well, so it just helped me in some ways. Maybe I'm not able to express what ways, but yes, there was some continuity and it brought some life. That's what I feel. That normal is okay. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, I didn't explain in the poem all the details, but I was at Young and Dundas walking along. There's a man and a woman, and the man said, I think that's a monk. And I kept walking and I turned around and said, yes, I am a monk. I said, no, you're not. He says, yes, I am. I don't think you are. Even though he started it. Then when I got to Union Station, there were two young women said, oh, are you a monk? And I said, well, yes, I am. Oh, real? Oh my God. So it's good to be in monk's clothes.
It's beautiful, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
That's what happens, yeah. And then I met a fellow inside the Union Station, and I was looking where's the entrance for the GO train? And he said, oh, you have this choice and that choice. So what order are you with? I said, oh, Hare Krishna. Oh yeah, Hare Krishna, I'm well aware of it. Yeah, I've done the Eightfold Yoga System. I was hanging with the Ananda Margis and all that. All because we're in these clothes. People have a lot of good questions to ask. It's fun being a devotee. I just want to tell you that. It's fun being a devotee. What about you when you wear those kind of clothes? Do people ever ask you about your devotee? Yeah, you.
Sometimes, yes, they look at me because I'm out of the crowd. They come to know that I'm religious person, something like that.
Yes, they don't know what religion.
Yeah.
Okay, but you look happy, so.
Oh, yeah.
Along with these clothes, you have to look happy, otherwise it'll have the reverse effect. How about you, Bruce, the brahmacharis, when you're in those? Don't you get people, let's hear from them, And if it sounds good, then you should send all your sons to the Bhakti Academy, and they can wear these kind of clothes and have the experience of their life.
Yes, Maharaj, this one incident I'd like to mention at the university. So the student asked that, I was explaining about different things, about what yoga and Bhakti yoga is, and then they were like, "Are you a monk?" So I was like, "Well, you could either be a monk or a monkey." And I made this choice. So they were like, "What? Are you calling me a monkey?" I was like, "No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, being a monk is about just acting with patience and understanding that this is my time to grow, to learn the spiritual matters immediately, not get immediately into trying to enjoy life, but really balance it with some restraint. That's what fundamentally it's about. Yes, my clothes help me in that direction, but in that essence, everyone can be a monk. So everyone is encouraged to. If we're not that, then we would just be a monkey." So that was my little interaction.
Very good, bravo, yes. I got my own story. There was a time when we were cooking once a week for a women's group, on Bathurst Street, and I delivered them. I cooked and I loaded and delivered it. And I came in with this prasadam, and there was one lady who was conducting this whole thing with these ladies. Some of them were destitute women. I said, one lady came and said, "Oh, why are you wearing that monkey suit?" And I said, "This is a monk's suit, I'm at the renounced order." So the lady who was in charge said, "Oh, well, you handled yourself very well." And I got, Sartak, do you have any experiences? People, they ask if you're Buddha or something?
Yes, Maharaj, we go out for book distribution and preaching at university. Sometimes we wear saffron clothes, and some kids, they get really excited to see us because they've just heard about these robes or they've seen movies maybe.
Yes.
So yeah, sometimes they get excited.
Yes, thank you. And I was walking in Toledo. I'll do a last little story. Is that okay, Dharma?
Yeah.
You won't curse me if I do
Kirtan for
one.
20 minutes. You do
Okay.
Kirtan Maharaj after this.
What's that?
You do Kirtan after this.
Okay, all right. Good. And I was in Toledo, Ohio, and I was walking on a bridge where we're kind of close to meeting each other. And they were eating popcorn, and the one stopped. "Hey, are you a monk?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am." "Oh, can you teach me how to fat?" And then I said, "Well, I have friends who learn martial arts, but in our order, we teach gentleness first. But I want to say this I'm going to give you something to think about. First of all, if someone wants to raise a ruckus, they want to have some conflict. So first of all, you reason with them. And you use wisdom first. You pull that out of your hat. Wisdom. And try to, make friends. Compromise, whatever. And then, but if the wisdom fails, then you can use your weapon. Okay? And these two guys were looking at each other and said, "Hey man, that's so cool." Okay, that's the last story. Okay.
I have a question.
Oh yes. On Women's Day, we have to look.
I didn't plan to ask, but then I realized that I had to ask this. You just mentioned about the self-identity of being a Vaishnava or a Hindu or a Sanatan Dharmi. So I understood what you were trying to say, but I want to know more about what's wrong in calling ourselves a Hindu. Like you said, this is not an identity that was, we were born with, but that is a given identity. So can you throw some more light on that?
Well, I think that it might be a little fair to address the issue by saying that why don't we call ourselves what we really believe in? If I say I'm a Christian, that means that I believe in Christ. If I say Hindu, it's something the Islamic community slapped on our community, saying you belong to the river, Sindhu River. So it'd be nice, if we could choose our own words, our term, to express what we really are. When I was a kid growing up, the people up north, we called them Eskimos. And it was derogatory, you know? And so now it's Inuit, which refers more to, it's more dignified, because this is what we believe in, and this is what you should call us, right? And in the 60s, during the civil rights movements, people were still calling black folks Negro. That was the respectable term. It's even in Prabhupada's book, Negro. Negro just means black. It's a Spanish word. It means black, right? It's not meant to be derogatory, but people have taken it. And of course, the worst, the N word. You're not supposed to say the N word, but that was derogatory. You know? So we might consider down the road, is Hindu a derogatory word? Because it has nothing to do. It's not a word that doesn't appear in the scripture anywhere. It's not, Krishna never says be a Hindu, but be my devotee. That's why it's important that. Okay, is that all right? Did you want to say something? Okay, anyone who has the mic has everything to say.
I was going to say, if anyone has any other further questions, they can ask during Prasadam time.
We can do that, right? And I just want to say, I can't stay too long because I have an appointment back at the base, and so I can't stay too long. Hare Krishna. But I want to thank you very much, Dharma. We appreciate all of you, your hard work, the book distribution you're doing.
Thank you very much for sharing your wonderful teaching with us. Thank you very much.
People were clapping. I didn't hear what you said. I only heard.
I was saying thank you very much for sharing your wonderful teachings with us.
Okay, thank you.
Let's give a huge round of applause. We will have now some Kirtan from Maharaj.
Is it very long? 15 minutes. 10, 15 minutes. Okay, great. How do you will? And we do it right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Jai.